Okay, here we are back in Maya, and we are going to continue fleshing out our character intro. I'll start by putting in breakdowns in between all of my storytelling poses. I'll continue to tween from there, work in some overlap, some overshoot, possibly retiming a few things here and there, but nothing really out of the ordinary. It's going to be somewhat business as usual pertaining to, or I guess relative to everybody's workflow. So when you guys jump in and do yours, feel free and please use the workflow that makes the most sense to you. Here we go. So you can see I'm sectioning these first few frames off. I like to work in chunks, and I like to work with the motion trail tool and track arcs as early as I possibly can. It makes polishing and it makes splining and transitioning out of the stage I'm in way easier. So you can see I'm beginning to correct the path a little bit from my blocking, and from the early version that I had. It's not quite true to space, and I want to try and make it as true as possible. That way, if I end up making any more changes to the camera or the trajectory of the character, it feels correct and not too forced to camera. That way, if I do decide to make changes, everything should still be intact. So as you can see, I'm going through and breaking everything down onto twos and trying to establish lightly some lead and follow. I'm also keeping in mind some shape change as I go between pose to pose. But you can see all the micro adjustments I'm making to the path of action, to the camera, and even to like the early rotations that I had set up initially with my cog 2 and cog 3. It's all in interest of making sure that everything feels connected and I'm still getting everything that I want out of the camera and the character and that relationship, making sure the character is leading the camera to a certain degree. And I'm making sure that I have him framed well across each of the thirds, but also like within frame, and I'm not cutting him off at all. Certain times I'll double check everything just by turning off the lights here. So if you have no lights in your scene, it's a great way to check the silhouette. So through this section, I'm just looking at the core, the torso, the hips, the relationship between the two, and the head. I'm not really paying attention to the limbs quite yet. I just want to make sure I'm getting the twist and the kind of shape that I'm looking for as he's traveling across the screen. This is the part where I'm going to have him pull on the web so that he can kind of spring up and gain that airtime, and he'll be able to get his hand around his back. Beginning to think this swing around with the arm that I'm trying to do with this arc, like here on the screen left hand, is going to become too stroby with all of the twisting, so I think I might try a pull instead. Okay, I don't think I'm really going to know until I do the other arm. I think that's part of what's causing the strobe. And I might even end up adding a few frames here and there to the timing of all this, because I want to see how it looks in Engine first, but it's beginning to feel a little bit too rushed. But we'll see. Okay, I think I'm starting to figure out what I'd like to do with the arms now. I could use some more time here, I think, because it's getting a little bit stroby. Either that, or I can design the breakdowns a little bit more so it's a little bit more clear. I'm going to go ahead and version up right now, and then I'll probably continue to work on the legs. I push and pull some frames here and there, just give things a few more times, or a little bit more time, excuse me. I'm going to save here, and then I'm going to move on to the next portion. I've got to figure out how I'm going to transition from this pose here to this pose here. I think this is going to be pretty self-explanatory. There's a very good chance I may need to nudge some things again just to fix some timing. And if you notice, while I was working, I originally had set some frames, on some odd numbers. So let's say 3, 5, 7. Sometimes I got it on 2 and 4. And just for cleanliness, I've gone and converted some of these to 2s, just so it's a little bit more easy for me to like parse and understand in my head. I'm not necessarily worried about getting anything too even or getting anything too with not enough overlap, with things hitting all together quite yet. I'm building a lot of overlap into the poses. That's like the way I like to do it. I don't necessarily like to offset keys. That's my preference. But yeah, if you've noticed me doing that, that's partially why. Okay, so I'm going to cut from here now, and then let's figure out how we're going to get from this pose. And then I think I'm actually going to need a little bit more time here for like the web shot. I'll probably put the web shot on a layer for now. That way it's not as destructive. The web shot being like when he shoots a web ball out of his behind the back pose right there. So yeah, let's save here. I'll version up and then let's keep going. Okay, so let's figure out how we're going to get into our next pose. I'm going to go ahead and update my motion trail. I think I'm going to definitely need more time here. So I think I'm going to extend this a little bit, and I'll probably rough in the web ball. And towards the beginning of it, you'll notice that I didn't animate the web. I'm planning on doing that last, and I just prefer to get the majority of the bones in first. And then I can always readjust the arm as needed to make it feel like he's really pulling on the web. Okay, so yeah, let's get that extra time in that we need. Cool. Just wanted to backtrack a little bit to clear up and clean up some things that I saw after coming back to it with some fresh eyes. And I stubbed in the web ball shot. So now let's go ahead and figure out how we're going to get from this pose to this pose. Okay, cool. I think this is a good time to probably version up. I haven't saved it in a while. I just realized it. I've been in the zone. So as you can see, I had to do some retiming, a little bit of surgery here and there. But I think stitching these two parts was pretty successful. It's starting to feel pretty good. Yeah, getting the web ball going and adding a little bit more time just for a few of these moments to read, and allowing myself a little bit of breathing time here on the back end once he's on the camera and he jumped off of the camera in the moment after. So yeah, let's go ahead and version up. Let's get some overshoot, maybe a little bit of overlap. Let's figure out how we're going to get to the rest of these, or into the rest of these poses. Even up to this point, I'm not too concerned about overlap at the moment. I just want to make sure my breakdowns are good. I can definitely incorporate better overlapping action later on. But cool, yeah. Let's continue breaking this down. Okay, I think this is another good place to version up. I'm beginning to get good progress on this transition between these two poses. I've offsetted some things, adjusted some timing a little bit, more so spacing than anything else. And I'm pretty sure somewhere around here, I'm going to have to switch my feet, or rather my legs, from FK to IK to get exactly what I'm looking for. So before I do that and make sure I don't lose anything and to make it as least destructive as possible, I'm going to version up, and then we can begin to work on the legs now that I've seemingly done enough to the core. Okay, cool. Let's see about getting these feet into IK when I need them. Find a good place to switch. Okay, what I think I'll do is I'll leave the very end of this pretty rough. I feel like there aren't as many holes that I have left to fill in between the poses. These are a little bit more self-explanatory than the other ones, maybe except for this last pose. But I do want to save some of this for the next lesson. But before we do start the next lesson, I want to get this into Unreal and see how it's feeling. So I'm going to wrap up a few more things. I'll probably save more progress for the next lesson, but at the beginning of the next lesson, we will preview this in Unreal. So I'll most likely do an export like I normally would, just like we did before, and we'll open in Unreal in the next one. So let's go through and sort out just a few more things, and then we can go ahead and wrap this one up until the next one. Okay, cool. Let's go ahead and wrap it up here. I'm feeling pretty good about it. Some of the transitions from pose to pose are a little bit more clarified now, so I know exactly how I'm going to get from one to the other. I fleshed out and changed a little bit of the timing, just added time where I needed to, because it felt a little bit stroby, and like a little bit flashy. There's still more to flesh out towards the end, obviously, but it's going to be pretty self-explanatory. I'm not going to do anything special there. Not that I don't think anyway. things might come up as we work along this, but I don't think so. I'm going to go to from a very very stretched and condensed pose, pretty much a stretch pose, to this wide pose, widening out a little bit, and then into this dynamic pose, and then I'll have my frozen moment right here. Cool. So let's go ahead and wrap it up here. I'll save and version up, and then in the next lesson, we will start by seeing what this looks like in Engine.